Okay, so I'm going to be showing you how to make the figure for group project 1, the second half paper. I did require one figure showing the means of the 4 conditions of our study. And it will probably be the only figure in your paper. So this should be called figure 1. And it will probably, as I said, be the only figure in your paper. So you'll want to start by going to the Google Sheet. The Google Sheet comes, by the way, so this file is this. This is from the lecture from Wednesday of last week. Files, this PowerPoint file, EEG, feedback on group project 1, first half. And as part of this, I gave you some information about what my expectations were for group project 2. And I also provide this Google Sheet right here. So this is where we have basically all of the data from group project 1 compiled nice and neat. So you want to click here. I'll go ahead and click on. Takes you here, and this is what you see. These are the values for each participant for each of our conditions. Calculated the mean of each of the 4 conditions and the amount of scores for each. There were 76 participants, 40 in Mozart, 36 in the rain chimes condition. Once again, so the way you'll do this is you'll copy, to make the figure, you're going to be using Excel. So you'll copy all of these scores right here, all 76, and there will be a little space here because we have more participants in the Mozart condition than the rain chimes condition. So you'll copy and paste all of these into Excel. So like right here, I already did it, but I'll erase it and do it again. There they are. And then you might want to organize them so that they look a little bit like this one, which I've already done. So here I'm taking those. These are the same scores right here that I just copied and pasted from the Google Sheet. But I've given them these nice headings up here: Mozart, incongruent, Mozart, congruent, rain chimes, incongruent, and rain chimes, congruent right there. And then all the correct reaction times appear beneath. I've already made the figure, but I'll show you how to make it again. That's what we want it to look like right there. To make the figure, it's helpful to get some information. First is the mean of each of the 4 conditions. I've already provided that. It's in the Google Sheet, but it's quite easy to calculate it again in Excel using the average formula. So here's where I make the averages. There's the formula to get the average of the first condition. There's the formula of the second condition, the average formula for the third condition, and formula to get the average for the 4th condition right there. So those are the means of the 4 conditions. Those should be the same 4 means that appear on the Google Sheet, which I've showed you before. You have access to. It's helpful to get those, calculate those means again, because when you're making the figure, it's nice to have those means show up in a nice little box right there. And that's what I've done here. So if you click right here, this is the mean for the Mozart incongruent condition. And the way I got that number to appear is I just clicked, it's equals whatever is in B46. B46 is that average I just calculated. This is the Mozart congruent condition. So I just clicked here, C46, which is this. The rain chimes incongruent condition, I just clicked on this cell right there, which is D46. And then the rain chimes congruent condition equals E46, which is right there. So those are the means, and we're going to be using that to make the figure. Before I do that, I also want to calculate something else called within subjects error bars, or the within subjects standard error bar. And this is something that's unlikely you have learned previously in undergraduate. I didn't even know it existed until graduate school, but if you're using within subjects design, if you have a within subjects factor, you actually should be using within subject standard error bars instead of between subject standard error bars. And most statistics and research classes only talk about between subject standard error. They don't talk about within subject standard error very much at all. And so that I'll show you how to make those error bars, which are most appropriate when you have at least one within subjects factor. So the way you do it is once you've done your SPSS analysis, you'll you'll see something like this. So this is the within subjects effects box, and I've cropped it so that you don't see some of the stuff that I want you to get by yourself, which is the F value, the P values. But this is from the within subjects effects box in SPSS after I've analyzed the data. And the thing that we're looking for to make the within subjects standard error bars is this number right here. This is the mean square for the congruency by type of sound interaction. The mean square, or the MS, for the interaction component in the within subjects effects box. This number is used to calculate with the within subjects error bar, which I've done right here. So you take that number, what is it, 4,727.256, and I click on the standard error formula right here. You equals the square root, and then open parenthesis, that long number, 4,727.256, divided by 40. 40 is the amount of participants, or the amount of scores in that specific condition, which is 40. There are 40 people here. And there's also 40 people in this condition, and you're still using that 4,727.256. I'll click on it here. 4,727.256 divided by 40. You take equals the square root and parentheses of those things divided by each other. And that equals that number again. Here, same thing, except there's only 36 people in the range times condition. 4,727 divided by 2.256 divided by 36, square root of all that. And finally, the square root, this last one's still 36 people over here. Square root of 4,727.256 divided by 36, close the parenthesis. Those are our 4 within subjects error bars, and we'll need those when we're making our figure. Once again, here's what the figure will look like. It's got the means of our 4 conditions. These are the within subjects error bars. They're smaller than they would be most likely that if they were between subjects error bars. On average, in general, with between subjects standard error bars are bigger than within subjects error bars. It's mathematically possible for there to be exceptions to that rule, but it's very, very rare that that would happen in real life. It's kind of only theoretically possible. So in general, within subjects error bars are almost always smaller than between subjects error bars. Okay, so now we will make the figure. That's what we want it to look like. We'll just make it again. So the way you make the figure, highlight everything right here. Once again, these are the means of our 4 condition. They're nicely organized. As so, the means are right here together. And then you click, while they're highlighted, insert. And you can click recommended charts, and it will probably, the correct answer will be one of the options, or you can just go to right here where it says column. Click on it, and then the very first one will probably be the right answer. Clustered column, double click, looking good. So first thing you'll do once it's appear, erase the title. In APA style, you do not need your graphs to have a title. Erase those horizontal lines because APA style doesn't require those. Now we want to make a vertical line right here on the y-axis. The vertical line actually is there. It's just so light you can't see it. So really all we have to do is click, change the color. So right click. By the way, I think that's only the case for Mac. For PCs, I believe they by default have the correct color line there. I don't know why Mac makes you change the color of the y-axis line. But we'll do that for those of you with Mac. So right click on it, format axis, click on the paint bucket, line right here. You see the line color is very light. We want to just make it a little bit darker. So let's try this one right here. And you can see it shows up there right now. So it's so light when it first, by default, for whatever reason, you can't see it. I right clicked on it, format axis options, clicked on the paint bucket, and then the line, and then I changed the color of the line from super, super light, so you couldn't see it, to a slightly darker shade of gray, so it shows up like this. And most importantly, it matches the x-axis. Really, whatever you do, you just want the line color of the y and x-axis axes to match. We also want to label the y-axis. So click somewhere on the chart, make it a little bigger. Click somewhere on your chart, and then click on chart design, and then add chart element should appear. Axis title, primary vertical axis. It'll be turned like that most likely. Oops. Highlight the whole thing. These are correct reaction times. All right, so let's now deal with the legend. Let's move it up here. We're going to pull it down. We want those two things to be stacked on top of each other and instead of side by side, if at all possible. That looks a little bit better. I also want to switch them. If you look up here, Mozart and rain chimes are down here, and incongruent and congruent are on the legend. But they're flipped right here. They're not the way the other chart is. So I want to, somewhere on the chart, you want to right click. On the Mac, you have to press Control and then mouse click. And then we want to go to select data and then switch row / column. That'll change it so the variable that's in the legend now appears in the x-axis, and the one that was on the x-axis now appears on the legend. And they are now switched. And so that looks like the chart above. Now I want to change the color of the bars, because in APA formatting, everything should be a different shade of gray. So click on the blue bars, one blue bar, and then both blue bars should be highlighted. So then I'll right click on that blue bar and then do Format Data Series. Click on the paint bucket. It's by default blue. All we have to do is change the color to a darker shade of gray, but we don't want it to be too dark, or else we won't be able to see the air bar that we're going to make in a second. That looks pretty good. Dark gray, not completely black yet. Now I'll click on one of the red ones, right click on one of the red ones. Please note, by the way, that both of the red ones are highlighted. Right click on one of them, Format Data Series, paint bucket, it's by default red. We want it to be light gray, so we'll choose that one right there. Looks good. Those are clearly two different colors. This is the incongruent reaction times. Notice how the incongruent bars are taller than the congruent. Now all we have left is to make the error bars. So click on the chart anywhere, and then chart design appears. We'll add a chart element, error bars, more error bars options. Do that again. More error bars options. Yeah, incongruent, okay. Add element, error bars, more error bars options. I don't know why it's giving me that dialog box. Let's check what's going on over here. Let's close this thing. It'll probably work now. Okay, so weird. All right, so I see. Erase those one more time. And then add chart element, error bars, more standard bars, error. Okay, then I'll click OK. I don't know why it's asking me that. Usually it doesn't. Click OK. It'll make error bars, but then we'll just go down to custom right here and then specify value. And then here's where we can specify a value using those within subjects error bars that I already calculated earlier, which are right here. So there's a positive and a negative value. And we will be, this is the Mozart incongruent. This is the rain chimes incongruent. This is the error bar for Mozart incongruent and error bar for rain chimes incongruent. So both of these are going to appear in the positive, and both of these are going to appear in the negative error value. So to do this, we'll click here, comma, here. That one's done. Do the exact same thing for the negative value. Here, comma, here. And then, okay. And those look good. There's one on the top and there's one on the underside. So now, and those for the incongruent, now we need to do the same for the congruent condition. One is right there, that one. And then for this one, this corresponds to right here. So click on those and chart design, and then add chart element, more errors options. Oh, okay. The reason that dialog box was appearing earlier is because I hadn't highlighted the series that I wanted to add error bars to. That's why that dialog was appearing earlier. It didn't appear this time because I'd already highlighted the light gray bars. It creates those by default, but those are not the correct. That's a fixed value, which is completely arbitrary. You want to click on custom, specify value, and then same principles what we just did. First, you'll click on this one, and then comma, this one. That's it for the positive error bar. Then you click on this one, comma, this one. That's the negative error bar. Let's press OK. That looks good. And that figure is done. So if you have questions about this, let me know. I'm happy to answer them, though I believe this should be pretty straightforward. But let me know, especially in individuals with PCs, it might be slightly different. I can help if you get stuck.